Hello, welcome everyone. All right, so for today we'll be looking at payroll management, and it's a very important aspect as far as an organization is concerned. Now, before I start with this very application, which I can assure you it's suitable to meet your payroll management needs. Now, what is payroll? First of all, payroll is just an important document. I will use that word document. And, it is used by organizations, companies, and businesses to perform day-to-day staff management activities. So it is a document and it contains list of all the workers, or let me say all the employees of a company who receive their salary or remuneration based on the job or the tax they have carried out, or based on the services they have offered to the organization or to the business. So basically, the payroll provides a summary of the entire money that is to be paid to the employees or to the staff of the company within a specific time. So the payroll is very important. And, here in this application, I'm going to be taking you on an interesting section on how you can structure out your payroll properly, because payroll provides functions which are very important. For instance, it could contain the company's strategy, the company's remuneration strategy, which may include things like bonuses. It could be the company gives out bonuses based on targets met by the staffs. It could be it's also part of the company strategy to based on deductions. It could be deductions like maybe penalty, situation where staff is absent from duty could lead to social penalty being charged. It could be in the aspect of okay, so as I was saying that the payroll provides quite a good number of functions, especially when it comes to the company's remuneration strategy. It ensures that it's very effective. Capturing detailed aspect like that of the bonuses, leaves, and also other deductions and allowances that are very important. Okay, and it's also the one of the function of the payroll to provide a detailed pay slip, which can be used for various uses. I know right there in your own firm, in your organization, whether it's a governmental organization or a private, definitely the payroll provide detailed pay slip, which can be used for your organization. Okay, and it also provides a detailed breakdown of the salary structure, and it is used also for paying salaries or wages, or it could also be used, for you to be able to collate your payroll related inputs, which I'm also going to show you here. We call them the payslip items, and it's very important that all the necessary setup is being done, and it's also used to determine the actual pay. What's the actual salary? It's with the payroll, you'll be able to do that. So for effective management of financial activities, it's very important that a company of more than a staff must possess a comprehensive payroll. And it's because of this reason that the primary function of payroll is to assist a company in timely payment of staff salaries, and also helps with other essential activities. For example, income tax. I am in Nigeria, and definitely income tax here, pay as you earn, payee, is very important, because I will also sharing with you how you can be able to link that up, considering the fact that I can switch over here to an Excel file where that very calculation can be done, linking it over to your payroll, which is very important. That's in the aspect of the income tax. Let me show you. So for the aspect of the income tax, you can see I have a little copy here of my payee statement, okay, which is very important. And you can, definitely the main purpose of this is for you to be able to generate the monthly tax payee, which is going to and be part of the deductions. Okay, so this is also part of what I'm trying to explain as regards ensuring that you have an effective payroll management system putting in ground, which helps you with your income tax. And in most cases, having a payroll is also important because it has to do with the company operations. Has to do the company operations. So the payroll management is the administration and management of staff financial reports, which include things like salaries, deduction, bonuses, and other relevant financial records. And it also should involve, a continuous review and update of the payroll database to ensure that the status quo, is always captured with respect to the remuneration of staff. Okay, and I'm glad you're here in this very training because the payroll management process is a repetitive and annoying process. That's to tell you the truth, because it can easily result in mistakes, and optimization of the process through the use of computers and software application minimizes the possibilities of such mistakes. And that's more reason why you're here getting this training so as to ensure that you benefit. And also computers provide databases which can easily be stored on storage devices and other remote online cloud storage systems, which can be accessed either through your login details, and it provides an essential backup of your payroll records in the event of where a system failure or a hardware damage occurs. So this reason why it's important that you transcend to this based on the payroll processes, which are very important. Okay, so for payroll process, generally payroll management process is what a company does in the process of administrating and implementing payroll functions. And in this process, the business or the organization is expected to use this application to record employee details and to manage salaries, manage bonuses, manage all deductions and allowances, and among other functions of payroll management is the main part, which is complying with legal requirements, which one of them is the income tax, which is very important. So the payroll management process also include putting in place a mechanism and system to ensure that employee grievances are being redressed. So the payroll process is the integral, it's one of the integral aspects because it's integral to companies establishing integrity and financial stability. And where there is poor payroll management, organizations open themselves to potential fraud. And this is the reason why you're here. And I'm going to take you at this moment on these very classes. So flow with me, please. Thank you. Okay, so with these little explanations, let's begin practically. So to get started here, the first thing to do is to enable the employee tab, because you cannot say you want to begin your payroll management process without enabling the main key people or persons who are very important here, and those are the employees. And I'm sure you know who employees are, because employees are basically those persons, those people for whom the organization will record payroll transactions for. So it's important that those individuals are set up as employees here. They are those who you paid, your organization are owing based on services they have offered. So it's the first step. The first step is to enable that, because if you look in here at the left menu, you will notice that those and the employee tab is not here because it's not enabled. So what you're going to do is that you're going to come to the customize option, then you scroll down and click and select these employees. So once you have selected the employee tab, you then click on update. Okay, so you notice employees tab is now here. So it's very important that you set up this employee just by enabling the tab. Okay, now when you enable the tab, the next thing you need to do is to set up the necessary accounts, that is related and that is going to be used to keep track of these employees. Okay, and basically those accounts, whenever you're thinking of preparing the necessary accounts which could lead to your journals and so on, which could be a liability account, and also that of the expense account to keep track of your employees and their salary payment. Definitely, you have to do that when it comes to the software. You have to do that on the chart of account, and it's very important. Now, the reason why it's important is because payroll processing is complex, and you might find it difficult to stay on top of the process. And it's particularly important to track your payroll liabilities and to submit payments on time. And when you have unpaid wages, unpaid salaries, or an amount from your payroll, you're creating what we call payroll liabilities. And that's very reason why it's important that in accounting, you must ensure that you try to put that in order. Now, in accounting generally, a liability is an obligation to pay an amount. And when you're managing payroll, your company incurs two types of payroll obligations. Okay. Now, the first one, it's the employee compensation, which is very important because the gross pay or the gross wages which you owe to an employee, okay, they are what we call payroll liabilities. So you must set up an account to keep track of those amounts you are to pay, okay, by the end of the month or by the end of that specific time. Now, by default, when you enable this tab, the software by default created that very account for you, which by the time you have set up a particular employee, you're going to notice that on your summary section, which gives you, now the summary gives you key information about the organization, and you're going to also see the payroll being structured here. You're going to see the liability account appearing here, and you're also going to see that of the salary account being structured here by default. Now, those accounts can be modified. Okay, they can be erased. You can create your own account to keep track of this. So it's very important that those informations are captured. Now, you can also, like I said, that when you manage your payroll, your company incurs two types of payroll obligation. One is the payroll compensation, which generally captures amounts owed to employees. Okay. And that's the payroll liability. And two, what we call withheld amounts. Now, those are amounts withheld from a worker's pay, from an employee's pay for income tax purpose. Okay. Now, it could be the pension contribution, and it could also be here in Nigeria, it could also be the payee, pay as you earn, which I showed you when we started using an Excel sheet. The reason why that calculation must be made, so you can, get to derive, and if I'm to come to that very Excel sheet, so you can get to know, the monthly pension based on the pensionable, calculation, and also the monthly tax based on the calculation done when you try to, do your calculations based on the annual tax and the Nigerian ban here in the country. So that's very important that you get to take note of that very aspect. So these are the two major liabilities account that you must ensure that you create, because you're remitting this to the tax authorities. And so, however, you need to note that when a company or an organization withhold amounts for an employee, okay, it's not generally an expense. So you must ensure that those liability accounts are also created. Then we have the need also to create the payroll expense, because some liabilities are not withheld from the employee's pay. Okay. And then for such liabilities, when the payments are submitted, the liabilities reclassified into an expense account. And that's one reason why you also need to create a salary expense account. And call it salary, and call it wages, whatever you want to call it, to ensure that you keep track of that information. So it's very important that all of those are also being done. So you ensure that these are very important. You take note of them. And like I said, by default, the application is going to set up those information for you, okay, to take note of. So don't be confused. Most times participants ask what's the difference between payroll liability and payroll expense here. Okay, so let's see I'm going to explain that as we proceed, but let us go straight and see the employees tab, which we have just enabled. So if we click on employee, okay, it begins with you adding those employees, because like I said, you must set up those individuals for which the company must remit or must pay at specific time. So while you're doing that, you click on new employee, and it starts with you capturing the employee necessary employee information. Now, before you do that, I'm talking about the liabilities account and the expense account. Now, you must understand that every business must record payroll liabilities and payroll expenses using a method in accounting called the accrual or a basis called the accrual accounting basis. Now, the accrual accounting basis method here is going to match, is basically matching revenue earned with expenses incurred. And the accrual method records payroll expenses in the month they are incurred, regardless of when the expenses are paid in cash. And okay, like I said that you have to enable the employees tab, and which we have done that by going to customize and selecting that tab. Now I said the next thing you need to do is to click on that very tab, and it opens this the new employee window. Definitely you have to ensure that the employee details is being captured. Now, before proceeding, it's important that you create those necessary accounts under the chart of account, because the chart of accounts is going to be, normally we know that it is the list of organized accounts which must be created, okay, to keep track of all entries here in the application. And two things here are involved, like I said, the payroll liabilities on one hand and the payroll expenses. And it's important that every organization must record payroll liabilities and payroll expenses using the accrual method of accounting or basis. Now, which matches revenue earned with expenses incurred. And I was saying that the accrual method records payroll expenses in the month they are incurred, regardless of when the expenses are paid in cash. Now, the matching concept is used here presents a more accurate picture of the company profits. And understanding this is very important. For instance, we could say, let's assume that this company, okay, called Success Enterprise, we owe our workers here, we're owing them, let's say, 100,000 naira in payroll, for the previous month. Okay, and the next payroll date, or for this month, and the next payroll date is going to be 30th of this month, because we have what we call the payroll schedule. And you must understand the payroll schedule, because here in Nigeria, our payroll schedule is always at the end of the month. So using the accrual method, definitely the 100,000 naira for that particular employee, which we are going to set up the employee, okay, that 1,000 naira, is going to be posted, okay, which is going to be the payroll expense is going to be posted, on this very month is going to be posted alongside with a 100,000 naira increase, which is going to be on the payroll payable liability account. And that's one account we are going to create now. So now let's go and create that very account to confirm with all what I'm explaining. So to create your account in the chart of account, you come to the settings tab, you click on chart of accounts, and you come over here. Since it's a liability account, we have it structured, the balance sheet as per that statement of financial position and the P&L income statement section. But what we are concerned about is the statement of financial position aspect, because that's where we can find our liability. So what do? We click on new account. We say the name of this account we thought is what we can call this salary payable. So we can say salary payable. Say salary payable. Now, what group? Statement of financial position. What subgroup does it fall under our accounts category? We say liabilities. Okay, you can just know this and you say create. So you can see we have created a salary payable account to keep track of that. But don't forget, I said that by the time we set up an employee, by default, the application is going to create an employee account, okay, which is the same thing as the salary payable account. So now that we have created this, when our payroll is now processed, okay, at the end of the month, which is going to be we're in September, at the 30th of September, or the last day in September, which is on 30th, by the time we process our payroll, the cash is going to be reduced by the 100,000 naira, which is which was our salary payable, and the expense, that was posted, during this month, when the employee, started, working and everything going on, is going to be matched with the expense for this month, including the payroll cost. So it's very important that the accrual method posts payroll liabilities and expenses in the same period, and it ensures that when cash is paid and the ending of this month, that the liability balance is going to be reduced. So the accounting method does not just pay or post expenses based on cash inflows and outflows, which is referred to as the cash basis method of accounting, because especially it's important that no organization should use the cash method here, because the method presents more like a distorted view of the company profit. But it's important that when you follow procedures relating to accrual, it's going to ensure that all informations are being maintained properly. And this application is going to generate a payroll liability balance report each time you process payroll. And you get to review the report so you can post each adjusted journal entry. And it's important most especially when you're trying to reconcile your payroll liabilities. Definitely. So that's just for that. So we have created this, and we can also come over here and create an expense account, which you can that's at the POL section. You can call this our salary. I can just call this one salary and wages or bonus, whatever. Or we can just call it salary. Category we say expense, and we also say we have just created that very payroll information. Okay. So now we'll go back to our employee, and we say we have an employee called Williams. So say we have an employee called Williams. So we're going to capture information here. So for the name, this is going to be where you're going to put the name of the employee. So I can say Williams, this employee is Williams. Now for the code is an optional aspect. You can see it's written optional because it's majorly for the employee or staff identification number. A company might have identification number. It could be Williams is a staff here in Success Enterprise, and the identification number is SE. Okay, they gave him SE and XE50. Maybe it's the number 50 staff that was given that ID. So it's optional. If your organization don't have an identification number for their staff, you can ignore that and proceed. So for the address, we can say our address here is the staff address. You can put it there. You can say Lekki, okay, Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, you can drop that. Okay, we can say you're done with that very setup. Then we'll also move to the email. Okay, because the address is, like I said, the address has to do with the employee's address. Then for the email is going to be used if pay slips are later emailed to the employee. Are you going to send your pay slips by email to them, to your different staffs? If yes, you put the staff's email address. So I can say, yes, I'm going to do that. So I can come here and say, this is email. Okay. Yes, for you, Gmail. That's the purpose of the email. If you know you'll be sending it immediately to them. Now, once you have done this, there is something important here, which we call the starting balance. Now, the starting balance appears only if a start date has been set for the organization. For instance, if you're making a transition to the software, okay, to the payroll management software from another accounting or payroll system, employees may have balances that the organization is owing them or that they are owing the organization, because most times employees might have taken loan. For example, Williams might have taken loan from the company, and we are now migrating to this. It's expected that you capture that outstanding fee. If Williams is owing, maybe he took a loan of 50,000 naira, and before we transcended here, he's owing us that 50,000 naira. You are going to capture it with a negative sign, showing that yes, Williams instead is owing the company, so that when next we are preparing our pay slip, we're going to ensure that this is deducted from that payment. But we're in a situation whereby he's not, but it's the company that is owing him. You're going to ensure that you enter the starting balance here based on the amount that the company is owing him. Okay, so it's very important that capture that, because the amount will be entered in the currency selected for the employee. So it could be amounts to pay. You can say 100,000, meaning that we are owing him this money. Now, another important aspect is what we call classes or department. It was to be in some applications like QuickBooks and others. It's a feature that is important because you need to specify which department is this staff working within the organization. So you can set that up by going to the settings tab. So let's create this. So we have just set up this area employee, and we can always come back to edit and set up the particular department in which he works. So let's look at the summary. Now, if you go to the summary, you will notice that by default, an employee payable accounts and the salary payable account have been created, telling us that it's a liability and obligation for the company that the company is owing this staff this money by the end of this specific this month or this time. So this is very important for you to take note of. And of course, I know you know what we mean by equity, majorly what the company owns. For now, we have this as a negative balance, and I'm going to take care of that. So like I said, you can customize this account. And how do you do that? Same, we'll go to our settings because we cannot have two salary payable accounts. So we can come and delete this very one that we created before. We can delete this one we created before. Then we're going to edit the one that was created by default when we started entering that account. So we can say this is our salary, and this is our salary. Okay, our salary payable, and we say it's a liability account. Then we say, okay. So once we have done that, we have just created that. And if you go back to where we have our summary, you will notice that it's now called salary payable. So you know that this salary is what you're to pay this very, it's what you're to pay at the end of the month. You know that you're to pay Williams 100,000 naira. Now, I was saying that this is a large organization, and it's important that we have a class kind of setting, a department kind of setting, so you know which department this staff is working. So now, how do you do that? You come over to settings, you look for what we call division, because in the application, division is what we use to refer to department. So you're going to click on it and set up those departments within the organization, which we can have the finance department. You can have the finance department. Great. We can have the procurement department, procurement or logistics or whatever department. We can have the HRO, HRO department. Have the HRO department, as many departments as possible. So once you have done that, it's expected that you go back to your employees after clicking save, you edit this employee, so you can be able to select which department. You can see the department option will have been enabled. So you're going to select the department he's working. Let's say he's working in the finance department, meaning that definitely we can say his pay is 220,000. Okay, so we're going to update this. Now, where an employee no more works, let's say Williams, let's say we have saved this in a particular time, Williams have resigned and is no more working with us. What you're going to do, you can come down and make this employee inactive, and he's going to be an inactive staff since he's no more working. So instead of deleting his information completely, you can just make him inactive. But later on, if he comes back, you can then make him active. But that is not important now. That's not important now. The main important aspect is what we are looking at. So we can update this. So you can see here 220,000. And if you go to our summary, you'll notice that his salary payable at the end of the month is how much? 220,000. So this is just how you'll be able to do that. Okay. Now, if you notice, if we go back to this and we say we want to trace this their information, like I was saying, you will notice that under the starting balance, we have amounts to pay and we have paid in advance. Now, the paid in advance amount, it's if the employee owes the business money, like I said, for example, where the employee took loan. Okay, so you have to enter the amount to pay. Okay, and if the employee has an unpaid earnings as of the start date, you enter the amount owed, okay, as a positive number, while the other one you enter it. If assuming it was the employee that was owing us, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to say paid in advance. We're going to use a negative sign and to capture this, okay, because I've already paid him. We gave him a loan. How much loan did we give him? We put the amounts that we gave him as loan, so you can be able to capture that. But this amount to pay, meaning that this has to be the complete amount, and you're going to update that very information. Okay, so always take note of that. Always take note of that, so you can be able to do that. And like I was talking also about the inactive, okay, so there will not be questions. We have made him inactive, so he's going to be an inactive staff here. And then you can always go, to edit and also go over there to say, yes, there's an inactive staff at the moment, can see his details are no more appearing, but maybe he traveled or for the meantime, but where he no more works with us, you can decide to delete the information completely, but we can just say, remove the inactive to ensure that he's, a complete staff right here with us. So once you're done with this, the next thing you need to do is to pay employees, because definitely you need to pay employees. Now, in the application, for you to be able to pay your employees, you must ensure that you enable a tab called the payslip tab. It's very important that you enable a tab called the payslip tab, because the employee tab, have just captured the employee information, but the payroll transactions needs to be entered in a tab called the payslip tab, which must also be set up. So in the application, payslip records the earnings, deductions, allowances, and everything for the employee. So they do not record actual payment to those employees of amounts that are owed as a result of payslip, but you must ensure that to pay your employees, you must enter payment in the payment tab, which I'm also going to show you. But there are different approaches here which can be used depending on whether the employee is owed for a single payslip or a multiple payslip, okay, or where there are claims from the employee that actually this, actually that. But I'm going to show you how to do that. So to start up with, you need to first and foremost go and you need to first and foremost set up the pay slip, which is very important. So how do you enable the pay slip? Because the pay slip is not here. To enable the pay slip, you need to come to customize. When you get to customize, you have to scroll down. Okay, when you scroll down, you're going to see our pay slip. So you're going to click on it, and then you scroll down and you say update. So this way we have just updated, and you can see below our employee, we now have our pay slip. So once you have done that, and you then click on the pay slip to begin to set up this new pay slip for this very employee. Now, the pay slip, and before you can set up the pay slip, we have what we call pay slip items. For example, you can see is divided. Okay, so like I was saying that for you to be able to start the payment process to employees, definitely you need to set up and enable the payslip, which I've just showed you by going to the customize, scrolling down, looking for payslip, and you click on it and click on your update. Okay, now I said that by clicking on your payslip, it's going to bring you to the payslip window, which basically contains 3 different categories. And these categories are the earnings category, deduction category, and contribution category. Now, this forms what we call the payslip items, and the payslip items can be defined here. Okay, it can be defined, and you have to go over to the settings tab to go and define those payslip items, because it's very important. Now, of course, we have already set up our payroll accounts, which is important that you do that, because before you can create payslip items, you must add accounts to which those payslip items will be posted. And these accounts, like I told you, has to be expense account and liability account. And we have done that on the profit or loss account, where we went there on from settings, we went there to ensure that that very account was captured. Okay, because such accounts record the various types of payroll expense of the business, which you might want to keep track of depending on the different calculations or whatever you're doing, and also the liability account, which records amounts you owe both to your tax authorities, and also it could include your income tax withholding, your pension fund salary. So we can also go over to our settings, okay, come to our chart of account and say, oh, that for this, we want to create another particular account, so that by the time we are creating um our payslip, we definitely know that yes, this account is going to be to this, and so on and so forth. So at this point now, what do we do? Let's go and take a look at those payslip items so we can set them up and begin to proceed. So like I said, it's divided into 3 sections. So you come to your settings tab, you scroll down, and you come down, you see below where we have non-inventory items, absolute features, payslip items. You click on it, then you see the breakdown of the 3 categories. So first you start with the pay slip earnings. So it's the pay slip earnings typically, this is where you're going to enter the salary, the bonus, the commission, and various allowances that you know you pay to the employee. Okay, and the employee in turn will see these earnings on their pay slips by the time it's printed out and sent to them, broken down into those very categories. So we can start by saying, and let's have the first one to be the regular pay, regular salary, regular salary. Now the expense account we created to track this is what is our salary and expense account. So you want to create, you click on create and add another payslip earning items. Okay, so you always take note of that. We can have a look at the very copy of our payee model that we have here, and we can see some allowances, like I said, which are important to be captured here. We can see transport allowance, our basic allowance, housing allowance, so on and so forth, which could be in percentage of the particular gross pay amount. So now we can come and say basic transport housing, we have to capture you. So we'll move back, we call this our basic allowance. Okay, say salary, create another. We'll call this our housing allowance. Say salary. Okay. Which other one do we have there? We can also scroll to take a look. Okay, we can just work with our transport allowance. Say transport allowance. Transport allowance. Okay, so our transport allowance is this. And so we're linking it up with our salary. Okay, and we say create. So this way we have just created our payslip earning items. Okay, so now what do we do at this point? At this point, we are then going to go back to our payslip items and also set up those necessary information. Okay, because at this point, Success Enterprise have just created payslip items for our employees, and it's been assigned to the salaries expense account, which we have just done that. So once you're done with it, you click on save, just like I did. And always make sure that the earnings items are always posted to the expense account because they are expenses of the organization in the current accounting period. So you must make sure you do that. Now, the next setup should be the payslip deduction items. Now, this is going to include the payroll tax, okay? It's very important that you include the payroll tax here so that the employees will see their deductions broken out into those categories. So let's also say that Success Enterprise is creating a deduction and payslip item for their income tax and is going to assign this, to the income tax account. Okay, so it therefore means that we're going to create a particular account called the income tax account because it's very important, and that account is also done here. So what do we do for that? And then in most cases, you create those particular accounts to ensure that those kind of informations are captured. Okay, and deduction items are most frequently posted to liability account because they are deductions from an employee's gross pay. Okay, and are payable to someone else, which in this case are payable to the tax authority or union or whatever by the organization. And only when the deductions are payable to the business that it should be associated to the payroll account, which can be classified as either an asset account, just as we created that of the expense account. So what do we do first? First, we need to go and create another account called the income tax account. So let's go to our settings first, come to our chart of account, come to our new account, and we say name, so this is our income, call it our income, our payee, okay, I want to call it either our payee slash categories, we say is our liabilities, and we can just create this and leave this way. Then once we are done with this, we can go now to our our settings to go and set up those payslip deduction items. So here on our payslip deduction items section, we can have our payee based on our calculations from our Excel sheet where we have our monthly tax payee. So we can come back to the application and call this our monthly tax payee. It's that. Then remember we created the income and payee income tax account. So we can do this and say create. So you see, I've created this. So since we want to enter other deductions like penalty, if we are to check from our what we have here, we can see other deductions like loan, penalty, and other deductions. We can also do that by coming back to the application, clicking on our new payslip item so that we can be able to say the name of this is penalty, 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 not penalty, penalty. Okay. And as well as you doing that, you know definitely this has to do with the organization. Okay, and definitely you have to ensure that that information is also being created. So that's for that. So we can leave our only deduction as this, or we can also have another account called our other deductions account, which you can also set up. But for now, I think the major deduction is this, which is very important for us to take note of. So each time there are particular account relating to the deductions you create. For example, if it was referring to loan, okay, loan, which also have to be deducted, it's expected that you create a particular account relating to that loan. So I can come to settings and say another deduction loan. I can come to my chart of accounts and also do what? I can create another account. Okay, I can create another account called what? Loan. I can say this loan. I can also decide to see how I can set that up since it's an asset at that point. I can also do that. Okay, and I say I can ignore the division and I say, okay, I've just created a loan and I say create. So same way, I can come back to my payslip settings, payslip items, and when I'm entering the payslip deduction items, I can see there is another one called loan. So I can say what's the name of the account. I can either call it recovery of salary advances. Okay, recovery of salary advances, because definitely for accounts that are being such a payment which will be recovered is expected that also create that very account so that our amounts that are paid in advance in form of loan can also be retrieved back. And it's very important that we associate such kind of accounts where and the deductions are payable to the business, we should be associated and classified as an asset account. So first, I don't like the name I gave this, which is loan. I need to go back here to settings, chart of accounts, and edit that name. So I can edit that name and call it recovery. Let me just call it recovery. Okay, recovery. Okay, I can just call it recovery of salary recovery, salary advance recovery, salary advance recovery. Advance recovery, and I said associate it to an asset because it's payable back. It's payable back to the organization. So you can say save. So now I can come to my settings and say let me visit my payslip items and my payslip deduction items, and I said let me add add a particular payslip item, and I said this loan, and I say for the accounts I'm going to use my recovery salary advance recovery staff loan, and I said create. So it's going to keep track of each time a loan is given to any staff in particular. So we can leave just these two, and we'll also go back to set up the last, which has to do with the payslip contribution. So contributions are basically items that are paid by the organization, and it can be categorized as both earnings and deduction. But yeah, it's important because it's a deduction, and it's required that the organization deposit a certain percentage of an employee's gross pay into the contribution, which generally we know one of them is that of the pension. So it is regarded as pension is regarded as a contribution, and in Nigeria is definitely 8%. Okay, so based on your calculation, you also need to know the monthly pension, and that has to be captured because it represents a type of employee earnings paid by the employer, but it is deducted from the gross pay at the same time and subsequently paid into the employee's pension fund account. So it's very important that that it's going to be done because it's important Okay, it's important. Now, also another contribution could be maybe we have a particular program you're running in the organization, which you add to an employee's and it's more like a contribution program. And it's important that you also capture such kind of payments because you're matching that program where which would normally be earnings for the employee, and then it's going to have an expenses and now as an expense for you, but deduction also makes it a liability because you will have to pay it back to that very employee at the end of that program. So contributions are also captured here, and it's important that you get to do that. So now how do you do this? Same way, you click on the payslip items from settings to payslip items. Okay, you come to payslip contribution items, you click on new payslip item, you enter the name, and call this pension. Pension. If you check our and the Excel file we're working with, have our monthly pension, which is this. So same way you can call that pension, and you can come over to the application and enter the expense accounts that you have definitely created to keep track of the pension. So definitely it could be we have created a particular liability account, to ensure that the pension fund is also being captured. So there will be two accounts to keep track of that. One is the expense and one is the that of the liability account to keep track of that. So what do? We have to go to our settings, our chart of account, and let's say on our statement of financial position aspect, we select the liabilities. Okay, we say the name of this. We can call it our pension. Okay, we call it our pension fund, pension fund remittance this account, and we say create. We don't have any starting balance for that. So say settings, we'll come to our payslip items, to our payslip contribution items. We say new payslip item. Okay. Then what do we do over here? Okay. What do we do over here? We say the name of this is our monthly pension. The expense account is our salary account. Okay. Then the liability account is our pension fund remittance account. Then we create. So ladies and gentlemen, by doing this, we have just created this very information, which is very important as far as this is concerned. Now, once you have been able to set up all the payslip items for the three different categories, which makes up the payroll, okay, the next thing you need to do is how to issue pay slips, because now we have created it. Now, how do you issue pay slip? For example, we say we have a staff called Williams Miracle, and I'm working with our file on Excel here, based on the payroll structure here. We say his pay is his pay is how much, his gross pay is how much. We say it's 481 this, so we can copy this amount, and you have to ensure that you edit this and then put the exact amount, which is going to be what is going to be paid at that very point in time, which we can say this is what is to be paid, or we can add that to its regular pay by not even putting anything here. But it's important that that is updated, that you know that yes, this is what we have to pay Williams at the end of them or for the month. Okay. Now you need to issue pay slips, and pay slips are to be issued to the employee. Now we're going to issue it to Williams, which is going to capture his earnings, his deductions, and his contributions based on all the necessary setup that we have done. And you need to take note of this because it's very important. So to issue a pay slip, you have to come and click on pay slip. Okay. Now once you have clicked on pay slip, you click on new pay slip. Okay, because pay slip is what we use to pay. So once you have done that, you're going to see dates. So the dates will automatically be filled with today's date, but you can edit it. You can say, okay, we are paying on the 30th because you're only coming to generate the payslip as at that due date when you want to make the payment. Okay, so let's assume salary payment is made today. So it's automatically going to be filled for you that it is today. So once you have done that, you can leave that. The reference is optional. You can use it to fill in any information you want to fill in, but it's not necessarily important. Then the description is also optional. Whatever description you want to enter, I can just say, can just put September, I can just say September. Okay, so for the employee, like I said, the steps, first of all, you click on your pay slip. When you want to issue pay slip, it brings you to the window. Then you fill in this information, which I say date is going to be that very date. So I want to make that payment and issue that pay slip. The description, you can put September salary or whatever information. Then for the employee section, you're going to select the employee name. It's going to appear on this drop-down list. If we have a lot of employees like Esther, Jacob, Ruth, this, that, you can select all of them. So I can decide to go to my employees and say, let me add more employee. So I can come here and say we have Femi, this one here, we have Femi at this one here. Okay, you fill all this information. You can just create this. We can say we have another employee. We have Henry, Henry, Henry Peterson. We have Henry Peter. Okay, you don't forget to select their department. You say it's our HR department. Then you scroll down and you say create. Okay, I can go and edit. I use create because I want to edit Femi Adesanya. I did not specify Femi Adesanya's his department. I can say it's in the procurement department, and I said update. So this I've just captured these ones, and I can put their code as well. Their code. I can say Femi Adesanya is Success Enterprise 51 is his own code, and I said I have just given him his identification number, and also I have just updated this, and I can also edit and do same for Henry. Henry is 52. So this is just how you update these very informations. So I've just updated these very informations for this task, and you can enter all the amounts to pay so that you know the amounts to pay, and I believe you know how to do that. So now I want to issue pay slip. I'm going to click on new, fill in the description. I said it is what? Salary, September salary. I say September salary. Who is the employee in question? I can say we want to pay Williams Miracle. So we have just done that. Okay, so now you're going to set up all the earnings. Okay, remember Williams Miracle, you're going to set up all the earnings. Now, how do you do that now? Now you say earnings, you now bring down his basic allowance. Okay, you move, okay, to his loan, you move, and just like that. But before that, we have to put this regular pay. How much is this regular pay based on the amounts to be paid? This regular pay is going to be under where we have unit price. So you can put it there. We have for this 481,541.67. I don't know how this calculation was made, but we can just say it's paid 480,000 naira, or we just put that particular amount. Okay, then we say for his division is within the department, is in the finance department. So each time you want to add more earnings, you can click on it to add more. To add more, you can say want to add this basic. Then I can go to my Excel file to say this basic allowance is this 192,616.67 based on the percentage charged on the regular pay one, which I've just done. So all is gross pay. So which I can come also, you can add description, whatever you want to add. So I can come here and say this is it for his, and you can also decide to put the department each time, or you can leave it. So you can see it's calculating it totally. So I can add again. I can come and say this is for his housing allowance. Then I come also to my Excel file and say what's this housing allowance? I say it's 96 and 308 point this. Then I come to my application and I come to the unit price section and I put that. And then I also come under here and I said his transport allowance, and I also move to my application and I come over here and I say his transport allowance is this 48,154 and 17. Then I also come back to my application and say this is under the unit price. I impute that. So with that, we have just set up all the earnings. So you can see all his earnings is 808,620.84. Okay, so I can also specify his department, and then ensure that that is captured. Then I move to the deduction section and we have loan here. So now how much is the loan? If he took loan, if he did not take loan, you can just leave that. But the major one, you can change this loan to this monthly tax payee, since we said he did not take any loan. Okay, so now for his monthly tax payee, we can also navigate to check his monthly tax based on calculation we have done, and we say his monthly tax here is 64,650.75. Then we'll come over to the application and say this is his monthly tax payee. Then we select this department, which is finance department. But if you don't want that, you can cancel that very information, and you can just click here to recopy this and put, but it's not needed. So you can cancel this since you already have the monthly tax payee here as a deduction. Then we can also put his contribution. We say what we have here is his monthly pension. We can put whatever description. Then for the monthly pension, we can also navigate quickly to go and check that monthly pension, which is over here. Here we say his monthly pension is how much? Monthly pension is 26,966.33. So if there were bonuses and other deductions, you can also do that based on the necessary setup. Could be deductions like penalty, maybe he was absent from work without permission. You can do that, or loan, as I told you, you set up those as payslip items. So we can come here for his monthly pension. We say this is monthly pension, okay, for the months, and we say we set up this. So once we have been able to generate this information, we can then do what? We can come in and say create this very information for us to ensure that this information is properly what? Captured. So now we are going to go back to our application here, and we have just captured these very informations, both our monthly tax and also our monthly pension, which have also been captured. But majorly you need to understand that yes, at the end of the period, we are trying to look into how we can be able to derive that of our gross our net pay, which is very important for us. So definitely we will be capturing both our monthly tax payee and that of our monthly pension and that of our bonus, which could be added, or our loan, which could be deducted, and our other deductions, which can also be deducted. So you always make sure you take note of those very information, because they are very, very important, provided that informations like our basic pay, our transport pay, our housing, and other allowances have also been captured, but where those are not relevant, basically, that what you should be looking at is majorly the regular salary, because at that very point, it means that these allowances, have also been included to form that of the to take care of the information we have here for our gross pay, which this made up the different deductions made up that of our gross pay. So for that very reason, we can say this is our gross pay instead of using regular salary. So what do we do at that point? Okay, we can say we have already calculated our gross pay to be this. Okay, and this is already our gross pay, and it's summed up with all allowances have already, summed up of all allowances have already make up our regular salary. But in cases where you say, oh no, you don't want it to be that very way, then definitely you should know that you should be summing up those very amounts to make up those very items. So for that reason, we can say right here we have our it could be the basic allowance or the basic salary or whatever. So we can go back there to say salary our sheet. We say this is our basic. We copy it, and we come back here. We say how much. We say it's this 19. Okay, then we add up our transport allowance. We can also come over to our sheet and say our transport allowance is how much. So this is our transport allowance. Transport allowance was also given to us as an organization. We say our transport allowance is this amount. Then we also come same way to get our housing allowance. We say this is our housing allowance at 96. Okay. Plus, we say this is our housing allowance. This is our housing allowance. This is our transport allowance. This is our housing allowance. Okay. Then we can save this. If there are cases where you notice you have not added something like other allowance, you can save this and edit it. So I can come and say create. Then I can come to my payslip items, and I come to my earnings items, and I say I want to add another item called other. So all these are what is going to make up that. I can use a particular expense account, say salary, create. So I can decide to delete this regular, edit and delete. want to delete. Then for the basic, I can just say I want to also edit it and just call it basic pay or basic. I just leave that very information there. That yes, that's normally his basic pay, that's his basic salary. But he was what makes up his complete payslip. So I can go to my payslip now and edit this. Okay, and edit this. And so I want to add up this is basic pay, this is what is entitled to. Then the addition of his allowances, is going to give us his total his total his total gross pay. So also come and copy the other allowance here. Right click and I said I want to copy his other allowance, which is this. Okay, then I come over back to the application and I say add line. And I said this is what these other allowances, which depending on what the organization gave. So I can see this other allowance. So you can see it has given us his gross pay, which is very important for us to take note of. So once you have done that, you can then update this. So you can see at the end of the period, this is his net pay at 416,890. This is gross pay. Okay, this is deduction, and this is his net pay. This is contribution. So this is his net pay. So now, what do you do when you want to issue out the pay slip? Okay, you then have provided that you have captured this very information based on all what we have just done so far. You must ensure that you check the box for to show you the total. So if we are to edit this, we can scroll down to click on show totals for the period. So it's going to show us the total. You can enter the date. Obviously, that total will be displayed at the bottom of the payslip for the beginning period with the enter date and with the ending date of the payslip. So we can say from first. Okay, for the ending date, we can say the ending date, or we can say since we are working with today, we can just do that and say update. So it's going to show us also at the bottom. You can see it here. See our net pay, our deductions, our gross pay, which makes up the total of all our allowances and the basic pay and our contribution. So once you have done that, you can then save. Okay, so you can see this here now. So once you have been able to do this, you can view our pay slip. So if we view our pay slip, you notice that for Success Enterprise, this is the date. You can see for Williams, and this is September salary. You can see the basic pay here. You can see his transport allowance, his housing allowance, his other allowances being summed up to give us his gross pay of this. Then he's going to less his monthly tax payee of this, and this is going to be his net pay, but we also have his monthly pension, which is also going to be deducted from that, and definitely going to be summed up. So you can see the total for each of the breakdown over here. So once you're able to do this, you can then say, oh, at this point, I want to see how this can be taken care of. So the payslip generally affects 3 accounts, okay? But more accounts can also be affected based on the accounts you have set up that you allocate these accounts into, okay? Because that's basically where the net pay amount is going to be posted. It's going to be posted to the liability account. So you must always take note of that, because the other account is going to be the expense account, because that's where expenses to the business are going to be posted. And it's very important that you also get to look into that account, as well as that of the liability account, where deductions and contributions are going to be posted to those very accounts, because those are amounts that you're owing entities, which could be the tax entities. So you must make sure that those accounts are very important for you, okay, for you to take note of. So once you're able to do that, then you can proceed to pay this very pay slip. And how are you going to do that? You need to click over here where we have our new payment. And if you are doing that, definitely, provided that we have set up our bank accounts, you can select the bank accounts you've set up, and you process this payment, and Williams is going to receive this payment, and his payment can be editable too. Okay, I'm always going to do that, and set up this, and definitely that's all. And the pay slip is going to be, and the payment is going to be recorded. But the main target here is the pay slip, and this is the pay slip. So if you go to your summary, you'll get to see on your summary, you'll see the total payments we have at the moment. Our pay income tax, like we have to remit. Our pension fund remittance account is showing us this amount we have to remit. And our salary payable is not supposed to show us this. So we can go and check that and remove the starting balance. Starting balance is majorly where a loan was given. Okay, so we'll have to go and edit this information and clear this. And just say update. So you can see right here that this is what we have to pay him. And when the time comes during the month, if we pay him, this amount is also going to be captured. So all these now also captured as our expense. And you can see them being captured as our expense and also being broken down to the necessary account like the pay income tax account, the pension fund account, and all that. So lastly, we have what we call the recurring pay slip. Now, recurring pay slips are useful when you pay employees on a regular schedule, maybe every month ends. You know that that's the regular schedule. And most details of the pay slips are identical from one period to the other. Maybe this is what we use. Okay, so you can keep track of those pay slips when they are due, and the application is going to remind you to create them. Okay, and also to edit their details instead of entering them one after the other every time. So how do you do that recurring pay slip? You come to the settings, okay, and you look for what we have called the recurring pay slip, so you can be able to set up that very information. So you can come to our recurring transactions and can see our recurring pay slip. So you're going to click on new recurring pay slip. Now, when you do that, you're going to fill in those information. You can see it's Williams Miracle, and you're going to fill in those exact information based on all what have been entered. You're going to put the next issue date. When next is he going to receive? Since we are working with 18, it means that his next issue date is going to be October 18. It is going to be October 18. So we can come here and say his next issue date is going to be October 18th. Okay, so that's his next issue date. So you're going to put that date, okay? It could be the same week or the same month in the future pay slips to be issued. Then the interval must include the number of weeks or months between the recurring pay slip. That's what we call interval. How many months? We can say 1 month. Okay, and is it in weekdays or days or months? We say months. Then you fill in those information and you create, and it's going to save up for you. Now, before you save, you're going to click on automatic reference. So automatic reference is going to ensure that instead of this standard one, it's going to ensure that at each time it's going to be on a recurring basis. So when you click save on this, it's going to appear under the recurring listing under the settings. So you know that yes, you have just set up a recurring pay slip, and each time from time to time can be able to use that. So we can also come and just say description is salary. This is basic way. For here we can go same way to Excel and say this is basic pay. Is we have basic salary, that is 192 this. So we can come here and say basic salary is this. Okay, we can also come, the departments at these stages are not important, so we can come, what is his transport allowance? Remember, this is not associated, this is recurring that we're trying to set up. So you come here, you say copy, then you come to the application and you come to the house, you put that of his transport. Then you also come and add up the housing. You come over here, you copy the housing, which is here. Then you also come over to this, you say this is housing. Then you say its unit price for this is this amount. Okay, the amount. Then you also come over here below, and then you come to select also his other allowances. Okay, since you are trying to set up the recurring, so we'll come here and we say that's for the other allowances is this, and we say how much. We say it's 144462. So I've just set up that information. Then it's deductions. We say it's monthly tax. So you can always come and edit it. So we say what's his monthly tax. We also come over here. We say his monthly tax payee is 64,650.75. Then you also come over to the application and you say let's enter that and say this is it. Okay, then what's his contribution? His pension. We say his pension is this is pension. His monthly pension is 26. So you can copy this and you can come over here and say that this is pension. So you can also scroll down and you look at this information like yes, then you click on the automatic reference, like I said. So don't forget the issue date. You put the next issue date, like I said, and the interval between the current date and the next issue date, which is going to be monthly, because since we are working with 18th of September, we are saying by 18th of October, that should be his next issue date. If it is not monthly, you can change this very section to week or days, whatever it is, and you can always select for each of your staff and set up their same way you set up for them. So you ensure that the automatic reference is clicked, okay, for a recurring, because it would not be it is very important because it's going to be applicable for a recurring slip. Okay, so you click that, then you click on create so that you can save this recurring slip. So you can see that now it's visible under the recurring pay slip. So whenever a recurring slip is due, a recurring pay slip is due, two notifications are provided. You're going to receive a yellow notification in the left navigation pane showing the number of recurring pay slips or which pay slips are pending. Okay, and it could be higher if you have not kept up by creating pay slips that are due. Okay, you always see that. So what do I mean by that? If, for example, we edit this and say that this pay slip is going to be due on the today. Okay, let's say it was due today, for example. Okay, and we say save, we say update. Now, if this date was in the future, you will notice that under pay slip here, at the left, this part here, you will see we're having 1+1 ticked yellow. Recurring pay slips is now showing. There's now a recurring pay slip showing. So that's why it will show by the next month that you have set up. It's going to show like this by that day. When you click on it, it's now going to bring it up for you. All your staff payslip that you have set up as a recurring payslip. So I encourage you to set all of them as a recurring payslip so that when that day is due, it's going to highlight this plus. If it's 30 payslips for your staff, it's going to show plus 30. So when you click on it, it's going to show you this. Then you can be able to process this immediately, to process the pay immediately based on that by, clean. You can also edit those information, but you can also issue by that date. You can be able to process that payslip instead of coming back to enter one after the other. So if I go back now to my recurring transactions, recurring payslips, okay, and I say, let me edit this and change the date to next month, which is October 18th, by October 18th, okay. Then I scroll down, October 18th, and I scroll down to update, okay. You're going to notice that it's going to show me that, I have a recurring pay slip by that very month. Did I change that date? Let's check if I change that date correctly. So I can say recurring pay slip and I say edit. Okay, so I say October, okay, sorry, October 18th, interval, 1 month interval, always. It's on months, not week, not days. This is Nigeria. Then I can scroll down to say update. Okay, and you see it's not showing me plus because it's not yet due. But by the time we get to the next issue date, which is 18th of October, it's going to show me due. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the notification you're going to see, and this is just how it works. And you'll be able to, select all your pending recurring pay slips by checking on the top box, or you can select those your individuals, to see their recurring pay slips, and you can further edit or view it without affecting future recurring pay slips, depending if at that point in time it's done with. And if you want to pay your pay slips, you can view first, so you can be able to click on new payment. And same way, if it has record, you click on the view for your recurring pay slips, and also when you click on the view, you now see new payments. So it's important that you always set up your bank account. Okay, you set up your bank account by customizing and scrolling down and select your cash and bank account. Make sure that this very option, which is the first option, is being updated. So that's the very important one, because there must be a bank account or cash account you're paying your money from. So you must do that, and you can come in to set up the opening balances that have been disbursed for the salary. Maybe all our salary is always 2 million naira, okay, total, based on all calculations. So you can set that up and you say, okay, we kept it in our first bank account, okay. So you can just do that and you just create, so that when you want to, and for example, I want to pay Williams now, I can just view this pay slip and I say new payment. And it's going to ask me which account am I paying from. I say from the first bank account. Okay. Now who am I paying? I just say Williams. It's already selected the salary payable account, Williams and this amount. So if I create this at this point, you see the receipt of payments made, and I can print this out. So if I go to my summary, you will notice that the money disbursed or budgeted for salary have also reduced. Okay, and I can come down, can see salary payable is having nothing again because we have paid this. So same way, if income tax is also paid, if we have paid this, you can also from that point also come to say, oh, we have remitted pension, we have remitted it. So you click on it, you come to view, and you come to click on new payment, and you say which account did we pay it from our first bank account, which you have already budgeted all that. We say who did we pay it to? You put the tax authority there, and then it could be the state. We can say LIRS, say LIRS or whatever that we want to just put in there. Okay, and any I want to do that, I can just put it in there. Then we can scroll down and say create. Okay, and you can see if you go to the summary, you will see that that information have also reduced the balance, and that have also been paid. So let's check. I think there is a little issue here. Let's edit and view this very information. So that's just how that is being done. Okay, that's just how that is being done. Sorry, I think I have to edit this payment. I can click to edit that very payment that was made. Okay, so you can delete a particular payment. Maybe you made mistake and you want to delete a particular payment that was recorded. You can use the history to see each payment you make, the history option above. We made this payment, so I can undo this. It's not supposed to be this way. Okay, I think I've undone that. So let me go back. Okay, so we say want to pay the pension fund. I say click on pay slip, new payment. Okay, how much are we paying? We say we are paying to the LIROS. How much? It's not going to be all the money. We're only paying that 26 for the pension. You select the account. We have our pension fund account. So this pension fund account. Okay, so that's the only amount we are going to record that was paid out of that account, which is 26,966.33. So say 26,966.33. Accounts from our first bank. We say for our pension, to record it to ensure that we have the complete record. Then we say create, and see we have recorded that. So if we go back now, you can see our pension fund remittance have also been recorded that this money have been remitted to the tax authority. Same way we can do for our payee or income tax. We can click on it and also come to view. So each time you want to pay, you have remitted and you file your tax and you want to record it, you come to the summary, which gives you key summary, or you click on that very income. You look for it here. You say view. Okay, you view. Or another way is by customizing those necessary accounts. So you can do that by clicking view. Now you can click on new payment, enter the accounts. Okay, you can see this one is our payee monthly. Then it's not going to be all the amounts. Take notes, and it's not this account. It's not the salary payable. We have a particular account, which is our income payee, income tax account. So how much is the payee? We can go and look for that amount also, which we already have there. We say this is our income monthly tax payee, okay, which we have to file to our tax authority. So we can come over here and clear this and put it here. Okay, then we say create. So this way we have just done that. So if you check, you'll notice that all have been cleared, meaning that we are no more owing any staff again. And our bank reduced based on that amount that we have spent. And our expense will always capture the total amount. So if we come over to our bank and say we want to check why this bank money dropped, when you click on it, you will see it here. And when you click on it, you're going to see that our pension was paid out of it, monthly pay was paid out of it, salary was paid out of it. And you can always view to know whose salary you can see Williams Miracles on. And you can always use the history from the summary, history above where we have emails, history, backup, what's the history. You're going to see the history, how it was paid. And if it was a mistake you made, you can always click on view and undo that mistake so that you can redo it again. And you can always view all payments you've made through the payment that was enabled automatically here, the payment feature. You see all payments that have been made, for this month based on this, and you can see our total employees, and can also see our pay slips. So ladies and gentlemen, and our bank accounts. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this all you need to know as far as the issue of payroll management is concerned. So it's very important that you set up your recurring pay slip so that you don't have to come back to do it again and again. So that's the secret. Come to your settings, come to recurring transactions, which will be hidden here that first time. So you click on it, set up your recurring pay slips for all your staffs. And like I told you, now pay slip is not showing yellow plus anything because it's not yet time. But assuming the date was to be due, today is now next month. Okay, this October, September is now next month. And we said we are now in next month. And we said the interval is 1 month and we update. Definitely it's going to remind you because when you come to your software, you see +1. And when you click on it, your payslip, or when you click on your payslip, you're going to see it yellow. You can click on it to know why, and it shows you that this is what we have for this payslip. And by that day, you're going to see the view, so that you can click on the view and be able to make your payment at the same time. So ladies and gentlemen, this is all for that. So I can go back to change my recurring transaction days for my recurring payslip. I can go and edit this and say we are not in that month yet. So let me say the month is going to be October 18th based on my monthly payroll schedule. So I can say update. So by that time, it's going to display that for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to stop for today. This is where we're going to stop for today. And thanks for following. And don't forget to continue, patronizing, and we are here to add value, and definitely you will get value because all our programs are value added. And if you need this application, this software, you can send me a message, call me, and enroll by visiting us at Mirama Consulting, or you try to reach out to us. Anyway, we have our number 09068408000, 09068408000 to get in touch with us and get this software, this application at an affordable amount, and the whole software working for you. So payroll is very important, and it's important that you ensure, okay, that you have a good payroll system being structured for you. Otherwise, you might be suffering for something you don't have been suffering for. And you should be working smart and not just working hard. And as I always tell people, that it's important that in order to build a rewarding employee experience, you need to understand what matters most to your people. And it's one of the things that matters most is this payroll aspect, because at the end of the month, your staffs are always eager. They want to ensure that they want to know that yes, at the end of the month, they are getting, their pay is coming smoothly, and they are able to see their pay, the breakdown of everything. Okay. And it's very important that you take note of that because it's important, and trust me, this class have been value added so far, and we thank God. Thank you very much once again, I'm Williams. Thank you.